One morning, the female lead Yu-jin took the bus to school. However, the bus was crowded, and everyone was pushing and shoving to the point that Yu-jin's face was pressed against the glass. It wasn't until the bus became less crowded that she moved to the back and fell asleep. When she woke up, she found herself resting her head on Jun-sang, a boy from the same school. Yu-jin panicked when she realized the bus had already passed their stop and asked the driver to pull over. Both of them got off and took a taxi to school together. Yu-jin rushed inside because she was already late, but Jun-sang was nowhere to be seen. When she turned around, she saw him leaning against a utility pole smoking. With no other choice, Yu-jin went in alone but still got punished by the teacher for being late. Her friend wondered why Yu-jin, who was always on time, had arrived late today. Hearing that, Yu-jin explained the reason, and just then Jun-sang slowly walked in. The teacher was angry that he came so late but still introduced him to the class as a new transfer student. Jun-sang stepped forward to introduce himself, and Yu-jin was surprised to realize he was the new student. During break time, a girl approached to get acquainted, but Jun-sang, being an introverted person, didn't respond. Sang-hyuk came over, extended his hand, and asked which school activity he wanted to join, but Jun-sang ignored him. Seeing that, Yu-jin told Hyuk to let her talk to Jun-sang instead. She presented the list of school activities for him to choose from. When he saw Hyuk waiting from afar, he decided to join the same activity as Hyuk, the school's broadcasting club. After that, everyone went to the broadcasting room. When they discovered the microphone wasn't working, everyone tried to figure out how to fix it. Seeing this, Jun-sang stepped forward to check, and noticed that the cables were plugged in incorrectly, so he adjusted them. A girl picked up the mic to test it again, and was surprised when it worked perfectly, leaving everyone impressed, especially the girl who had just tested it. The next day, Jun-sang went to an extra class to study further. After writing a formula on the board, the teacher erased it immediately, causing many students to complain because they hadn't finished copying. The teacher then told a student to go up and rewrite what had been erased. Jun-sang quickly stepped forward, took a piece of chalk, and wrote everything fluently, leaving the teacher and the class astonished. After the class ended, the teacher planned to talk to Jun-sang. Just then, Hyuk called from a distance, "Dad." The teacher turned around and asked what he was doing there. Hyuk said there was no extra class today, so he came to go home together. When the teacher turned back to look for Jun-sang, he was already gone. As soon as he arrived home, Jun-sang asked his mother about his father, but she avoided the question and said he didn't have one. While riding the bus, Jun-sang saw Yu-jin. She also glanced at him, but neither of them said anything. When the bus stopped, Jun-sang noticed that Yu-jin was asleep, so he tapped on the window to wake her up. Realizing the bus was about to leave, she panicked and asked the driver to stop. At the school gate, Yu-jin saw the teacher punishing students who were late. Just then, Jun-sang arrived. She quickly pulled him aside and said she had a way for both of them to avoid punishment. They went to a wall nearby, and Jun-sang used his back as support to help Yu-jin climb over. When he reached the broadcasting room and opened the door, he saw her singing inside. The sight made Jun-sang laugh. When Yu-jin noticed him watching, she shyly covered her face with a book. During the volleyball game, many girls were cheering for Jun-sang. After the match ended, since he hadn't cooperated with the team, Hyuk came over to confront him. He provoked Jun-sang, but though Hyuk became angry and was about to strike, he managed to hold back and stopped himself. That evening, while Yu-jin was at home, her mother called and asked her to bring over a few things. After dropping them off, on her way back, she was harassed by a man. Jun-sang, who had just finished eating at a nearby restaurant, heard her scream and ran over. Seeing Yu-jin, he immediately pulled her away, but the man grabbed him and punched him in the face. Jun-sang couldn't stand it anymore and hit back. The struggle continued until all three were taken to the police station. The man claimed he was innocent and that he had been hit first, but the police didn't believe him because he was drunk. A moment later, the officer told them, "Call your guardians here." Yu-jin said her father had passed away, and her mother was too busy to come. Jun-sang replied that his father wasn't around either. Both of them were then allowed to leave. They sat down and talked for a while. Jun-sang asked Yu-jin about her relationship with Hyuk. Yu-jin explained that they had known each other since childhood, and that their families were as close as one. Her father and his father were best friends. Before leaving, Yu-jin asked why Jun-sang had transferred schools. He said he came here to find someone. Curious, she asked who that person was, but Jun-sang said they weren't close enough for him to tell her. Then she threw him a bag of medicine, reminding him to use it or it would leave a scar, and left. The next morning, when she arrived at class and saw the bruise on Jun-sang's face, a girl who liked him went up to ask if he was okay, but Jun-sang ignored her. Noticing Yu-jin's strange reaction, the girl approached and asked if the two of them had been together. Yu-jin told her to go back to her seat. On their way home, the two of them took the bus together. While riding, Yu-jin advised Jun-sang to try to get along with his classmates. After a while, she asked who he came here to find. Jun Sang no longer hid it and said it was his father. Jin asked what he would do if he found him, but Jun Sang said he didn't know what he would do either. When she got home, Jin saw Hyuk waiting. He handed her bag. A moment later, Hyuk's father arrived. He came because it was the memorial day of Jin's father. She went into her room and saw her younger sister looking through an album that contained an old photo of 3 people. The next day at school, the teacher angrily called Jin and Jun Sang to the front. The reason was that both had skipped class the day before, so he punished them by making them clean the schoolyard for a month. Later, Jun Sang went to see Hyuk's father. The reason he wanted to meet was because he recognized Jun Sang's talent and suggested that after school, Jun Sang should come to study with him. This would be beneficial for his future. Hearing that, Jun Sang agreed. One day after class, Hyuk followed Jun Sang. When he reached a room, he saw his father and Jun Sang happily talking and solving math problems together. The next day, Hyuk confronted Jun Sang to ask why he had gone to see his father. Meanwhile, Jin entered the broadcasting room. Hearing sounds inside, she peeked through the door. Hyuk asked why Jun Sang kept approaching the people close to him. Jun Sang said it was because Hyuk had everything, so he wanted to take it away. Hearing that, Hyuk asked if Jun Sang had gotten close to Jin just to provoke him. Jun Sang admitted it, which made Hyuk furious. He was about to teach Jun Sang a lesson when Jin shouted from outside to stop. She walked in and asked Jun Sang if what he had said earlier was true. When he stayed silent, Jin slapped him across the face and left angrily. The next day, everyone in the broadcasting club went on a trip. Seeing that Jun Sang hadn't arrived yet, Jin looked a little sad. Hyuk noticed but didn't know what to do. Just as everyone was about to board the train, Jun Sang showed up in time. Everyone cheered his name excitedly. Seeing him, the sadness on Jin's face disappeared instantly. When they arrived, it was already dark. Everyone built a campfire and sat around playing games. The atmosphere was full of joy. While Jin was walking, Jun Sang came up to her, wanting to explain that what had happened the other day was just a misunderstanding, but she didn't want to listen. Even so, Jun Sang kept trying to explain, but Jin couldn't take it anymore and ran away. Back at the campsite, everyone grew restless when they couldn't find Jin and Jun Sang anywhere. Just as they were getting worried, Jun Sang returned. Hyuk immediately asked him where Jin was. Meanwhile, Jin, after running off, suddenly realized she had lost her way. Surrounded by trees, she grew anxious, walking while calling out for her friends. Because it was dark, she accidentally tripped and fell. Feeling helpless, Jin sat down and cried, but luckily, Jun Sang found her. He ran toward her, and Jin happily hugged him. On their way back, he explained everything to her. After listening, they reconciled and returned to how they used to be. When they came back holding hands, Hyuk looked displeased. A classmate told Jin how worried Hyuk had been when she disappeared. Hearing that, Jin approached him to apologize, but he said nothing and turned away. After returning to the city, everyone planned to go out to eat. However, Hyuk asked to leave first. Seeing that he didn't look well, Jin said she would go with him. On the way, she asked why he seemed upset. Realizing she still didn't understand, he told her everything and said she was foolish for believing Jun Sang even after seeing his true nature. After speaking, Hyuk walked away. When Jun Sang got home, his mother asked why he was back so early, but he didn't answer and went straight to his room. She looked at him with concern, but his father told her to let him be. Winter arrived and snow began to fall, covering the sky. While walking, Jin unexpectedly ran into Jun Sang. They talked as they walked, and then went to an open field to build a snowman. By evening, he took her home. When they reached her house, Jin invited him in for dinner. While waiting for Jin to cook, Jun Sang and her younger sister looked through an album. When he saw a photo of 3 people, he suddenly realized something. He took out a photo from his pocket that looked exactly the same but was burned, leaving only 2 people visible. A moment later, Jin's sister returned to the living room but didn't see Jun Sang, so she ran to tell her sister. At that moment, Jun Sang was running to Hyuk's father's place to ask about the woman in the photo holding Jin's father's arm. Hyuk's father said the woman was Jin's father's lover, but for some reason, he ended up marrying Jin's current mother. When the woman learned about it, she left the place. Back home, Jun Sang was in turmoil. Later, he called his mother and said he would go to America with her. The next day, Jin packed her things to go on a trip with Jun Sang. She arrived at the meeting spot but waited for a long time, and he never showed up. At that time, he was on his way to the airport with his mother. On the road, wanting to see Jin to say goodbye, he asked the driver to stop and ran off. As he crossed the street without paying attention, a car sped toward him, and in the end, an accident occurred. That night, Jin waited until late, but Jun Sang still didn't show up. Feeling disappointed, she took the bus home. The bus passed by the scene of the accident, but she had no idea what had happened to Jun Sang. The next day, when she arrived at class, she saw everyone looking somber after hearing that Jun Sang had passed away in the accident. Jin couldn't hold back her tears and ran outside. Hyuk followed to stop her, but she insisted on going to find Jun Sang Sang. After a while of persuading her, she finally accepted the truth and collapsed, crying uncontrollably. A sorrowful atmosphere filled the school. On Jun Sang's desk, a single flower was placed in remembrance of him. Sometime later, after graduation, Yoo-jin worked for a small interior design company in Chuncheon. She and Hyuk were also about to get married. After work, he went to a jewelry store and bought a ring. During dinner together, Hyuk asked Yoo-jin to hold out her hand and gently put the ring on her finger in a romantic atmosphere. The two reminisced about their childhood memories and felt very happy. Afterward, Hyuk drove Yoo-jin home. When she was about to get out, he stopped her, saying that today was their engagement day, then pretended to look for a gift. Suddenly, Hyuk leaned in, intending to steal a kiss, but she caught him. Seeing his plan fail, Yoo-jin burst into laughter. The next morning, while visiting a client, she accidentally saw someone who looked exactly like Jun Sang and couldn't take her eyes off him. The figure soon disappeared. That evening, after getting her hair done, she was walking when snow began to fall. Looking ahead, she saw the man with Jun Sang's face standing right in front of her. Shocked, she dropped her phone and immediately ran after him. Meanwhile, their engagement ceremony was about to begin. Hyuk grew worried because she still hadn't arrived. He tried calling her, but no one answered. Thinking something had happened, he told his family he would call the police. Just then, Yoo-jin slowly walked in with a blank expression. Her mother rushed over, scolding her for coming so late, while Hyuk's mother, angry, walked away. Hyuk asked what had happened, but before Yoo-jin could answer, she suddenly fainted, causing everyone to panic. When she woke up, her mother questioned her, but Yoo-jin said nothing. Later, she went to apologize to Hyuk's mother, but even when Hyuk called out, she refused to open the door. Hyuk's father told him not to worry, saying that if he pushed it, Yoo-jin would only feel more uncomfortable. Outside, Hyuk told her not to worry. Even without the ceremony, their love wouldn't change. He was about to get the car to take her home, but she stopped him, telling him to go back inside and comfort his mother, since it was because of her that she was upset. A few days later, wanting to cheer Yoo-jin up, Hyuk secretly brought her to an open field, where Chain was waiting with a camera pointed at them. Soon after, a friend's voice came through the microphone, reciting the words of an engagement ceremony. Hyuk took out a box containing 2 rings. He put one on Yoo-jin's finger and the other on his own. When they returned, their friends congratulated them. A moment later, Cha-jin opened the door for someone. The moment the man stepped inside, everyone was shocked. He looked exactly like Jun Sang. Cha-jin introduced him as Min Hyung. After the introduction, he politely greeted everyone and told his friend that he had parked downstairs and would go ahead first. Cha-jin told Hyuk and Yoo-jin that if the two of them got married, they should come to her fashion boutique, saying she would personally design their wedding outfits. After saying that, she quickly left. The next day, Yoo-jin went to meet a client to discuss a design project, but to her surprise, the client turned out to be Hyung. While he was focused on reviewing the design plan, Yoo-jin looked at his face and was reminded of past memories. Unable to hold back her tears, she ran outside, leaving Hyung confused. Immediately afterward, she went to see Cha-jin to ask where she had met Hyung, and to make sure that Hyung was born in France and not Jun Sang. Hearing this, Cha-jin said that her boyfriend had no connection whatsoever with Jun Sang, and more than that, he didn't even know who Jun Sang was. Seeing Yoo-jin's strange expression, Cha-jin asked if something was wrong. Yoo-jin quickly wiped away her tears and excused herself to leave. As she walked out, she unexpectedly saw Hyuk waiting. The two went into a cafe to talk. Seeing that Yoo-jin didn't look well, Hyuk asked what was wrong, but she said it was nothing. While working, a co-worker approached Yoo-jin to discuss the contract with Hyung's company. Later, when she went on stage to present, her speech captivated everyone, and all eyes were on her. During her conversation with Hyung, wanting to make a good impression, he invited her to dinner, but Yoo-jin suddenly stood up and excused herself, leaving Hyung puzzled, unsure of what he had done to upset her. One day, at the company, Yoo-jin received a phone call. Her co-worker said she couldn't make it to the site inspection and asked Yoo-jin to go instead. As Yoo-jin stepped outside, a car pulled up, and to her surprise, Hyung got out. He told her to get in and go with him. When they arrived, Yoo-jin carefully took photos with her camera. Because it was freezing, she kept breathing warm air into her hands. Seeing that, Hyung placed his coat over her shoulders. Yoo-jin turned to return it, but he told her to keep it on. As they walked, Hyung hit a tree branch, causing snow to fall. Yoo-jin, walking behind him, was instantly reminded of a time when she and Jun Sang had taken a walk, and he had done the exact same thing. She raised her camera toward Hyung, but when he suddenly turned around, she quickly shifted the lens away. By dusk, the temperature had dropped even lower. They went into a small house with a fireplace to warm up. Yoo-jin stared intently at Hyung's face and asked where he had gone to high school. Hyung replied that he had studied in France. She continued asking more questions, leaving him unable to answer them all. Then Yoo-jin asked him to take off his glasses. Seeing him hesitate, she reached out as if to remove them herself, but quickly realized she was overstepping and apologized. Curious, Hyung asked what was going on, since she always acted strangely whenever they met. Yoo-jin was about to explain explain, when suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Hyung went to open it, and Cha-jin burst in, hugging him tightly. She was surprised to see Yoo-jin there as well. After chatting for a while, the three of them left together. On the way back, Yoo-jin remembered the coat she was wearing, and decided to turn back to return it to Hyung. While driving, Cha-jin happily told Yoo-jin how glad she was that Yoo-jin was working with Hyung, and even asked her to look after him for her. When Hyuk got home, he met Yoo-jin, and asked her to go out with him the next day, since it had been a long time since they spent time together. Seeing her remain silent, Hyuk touched her finger with his own, taking it as her agreement. The next day, Hyuk waited for Yoo-jin at the meeting spot. She arrived and apologized for being late because of work, but he said it was fine. Seeing a movie theater nearby, she pulled him over, but Hyuk said the tickets were sold out. Hearing that, Yoo-jin suggested they go somewhere else. The two then went to a restaurant. An older man who worked with Hyung recognized Yoo-jin, and came over with his colleague to greet her, and she cheerfully responded. The next day, Cha-jin met with Hyuk to discuss the wedding outfits. That evening, Hyuk and Yoo-jin met at a restaurant. While choosing dishes, they heard Cha-jin's voice, and turned to see her arrive with her boyfriend. Cha-jin mentioned to Hyuk that the day before, Yoo-jin had gone to the site inspection with her boyfriend. Hearing this, Hyuk was surprised, and Yoo-jin felt uneasy inside. The four of them sat together for dinner, and had a pleasant conversation. Hyuk told Hyung that if Yoo-jin made any mistakes in her work, he hoped Hyung would kindly guide her. As they were leaving, Cha-jin suggested they all go out to eat together again sometime. After shaking hands, they went their separate ways. On the way home, Yoo-jin noticed Hyuk acting strange, and asked if he was upset with Ratterlees. Hyuk turned to admit that he was, because she had kept it from him that she was working with another man. She said she had intended to tell him, but added that if he was still angry, she would resign so she wouldn't have to see Hyung again. However, Hyuk didn't want her to do that. He told her that if she gave up everything just because of that man, all her hard work would go to waste. The next day, Cheon came to Cha-jin's fashion store. When Cha-jin learned that Cheon was struggling to find a job, she offered her a position at the store. Cheon happily agreed. That evening, when Yoo-jin found out her best friend had gotten a job, she was overjoyed. Cheon even said that once she got paid, she would treat everyone to dinner. While pouring wine for Yoo-jin, Hyuk stopped her, saying Yoo-jin couldn't drink. Cheon said she knew that, so after pouring, she told them she would drink for Yoo-jin, and downed the whole glass in one go. On the way home, Hyuk reached out his hand for Yoo-jin to hold. One day, while watching TV, Cheon suggested that she and Yoo-jin should go out together sometime. But when she learned that Yoo-jin had an upcoming company gathering and didn't have an outfit to wear, she asked Cha-jin at work if she could rent one, saying the cost could be deducted from her salary. Realizing it was for Yoo-jin, Cha-jin told her to wait a moment, and went to get a dress. It was one of her own, and since they were the same size, she told Cheon to give it to Yoo-jin, and say it was a gift from her. The reason Cha-jin did this was because Yoo-jin would be attending the event with her boyfriend, and she didn't want Yoo-jin to be looked down upon. On the day of the gathering, Cheon went to Yoo-jin's room and surprised her by showing the outfit. Yoo-jin felt shy, because it was her first time wearing something like that. When she saw that the shoes Yoo-jin planned to wear didn't match the outfit, Cheon took out a pair of brand new shoes she had just bought and gave them to Yoo-jin to wear. When they arrived, since it was Yoo-jin's first time wearing high heels, she accidentally slipped while walking. However, she quickly stood up and continued on. At that moment, Cha-jin appeared wearing the same outfit as Yoo-jin and walked toward Hyung. When he saw her, he felt an odd sense of familiarity. Cha-jin told Hyung that she had something to do and needed to leave early, so he escorted her outside. Before leaving, she asked if Yoo-jin had ever mentioned that he resembled someone. Hyung was curious and didn't understand why she said that. Cha-jin explained that Yoo-jin's first love had a face identical to his. Hearing this, Hyung was slightly surprised. Cha-jin went on to say that there wasn't a man who hadn't been deceived by Yoo-jin, and she advised him to be careful. When he returned home, Hyung couldn't stop thinking about what Cha-jin had said. That night, Yoo-jin and her colleagues went to a bar for drinks after work. A man who worked with Hyung happened to see her and came over to greet her. They all ended up sitting together, drinking and chatting. After a while, some people who were drunk left early, leaving only Yoo-jin and Hyung. Yoo-jin told him that his face resembled that of her first love. Seeing that she was drunk, Hyung decided to take her home, but since he didn't know where she lived, he brought her to his place instead. When Hyung removed his glasses, Yoo-jin suddenly saw Jun-sang's face in him. She hugged him and burst into tears, convinced that Hyung was Jun-sang. She asked if he remembered her, but Hyung shook his head and gently wiped the tears from her face. Just as they were about to kiss, he suddenly stopped. He recalled Cha-jin's words and began to believe that Yoo-jin was only trying to seduce him like she had supposedly done with other men, that her drunkenness and story about a past lover were just an act. Hearing those words made Yoo-jin furious. She stood up, grabbed her bag, and left. When Hyung reached out to stop her, she slapped him across the face and walked away. On her way out, she ran while crying. Hyung sat in silence, lost in thought about what had just happened. The next day, after a meeting, as Yoo-jin was passing by, Hyung called out to her and asked if they could talk. When they were alone, Yoo-jin apologized, saying she had been drunk the night before and mistook him for someone she knew. But Hyung didn't believe her, saying she hadn't seemed that drunk. Yoo-jin grew angry, upset that he thought she was trying to seduce him. She told him she wasn't that kind of person, and that she was already engaged, so she would never do such a thing. After saying that, she quickly walked away. One day, Hyuk went shopping with Yoo-jin. He seemed a little sad as he mentioned how often she was meeting Hyung. Seeing his unease, Yoo-jin reassured him that their relationship was purely professional, and that once the project ended, they wouldn't have any reason to see each other again. Later, he drove her home. Before she got out of the car, Yoo-jin noticed Hyuk staring at her, and asked why. He said that since they would soon be apart for a while, he wanted to remember her face clearly. After saying that, he hugged her. Yoo-jin suddenly apologized. When he asked why, she said, "For everything." The next day, wanting to check the project's progress, Yoo-jin and her colleague packed their things to stay overnight. An older coworker came by and told them to drop off their luggage so they could all go for coffee. Yoo-jin declined, saying she had something to do, though in truth, she wanted to avoid Hyung. That evening, everyone gathered for dinner. Knowing Yoo-jin couldn't drink, when she helped escort the drunk coworker back to his room, Hyung quietly followed behind her. On her way back, Yoo-jin ran into Hyung. He apologized for misunderstanding her. Yoo-jin said it was fine, that she had already forgotten about it. While they were talking, Cha-jin suddenly appeared, so Yoo-jin excused herself and left. The next morning, Cha-jin came to Yoo-jin's room. She took out a notebook and said she had found it in Hyung's room. Yoo-jin apologized, explained everything, and assured her that nothing had happened between them. Cha-jin believed her, because she knew Hyung wasn't that kind of person. However, she still asked Yoo-jin to keep her distance from him. That evening, Cha-jin met with Hyung. Pretending to have just learned that he had carried Yoo-jin home, she told him she had gone to see Yoo-jin, and claimed Yoo-jin had warned her not to trust a man who flirts with women who are already engaged. Hearing this, Hyung was stunned and immediately went to find Yoo-jin. He asked if she liked him. When she remained silent, Hyung understood her answer and said, "Even if you do, I would never like a woman like you." The next day, Hyung went to Cha-jin's fashion store. When he asked the staff, they said she was on the second floor. As he went up, he overheard her conversation with Cheolin about Junsang. Hyung deliberately waited until Cha-jin left, then went inside to ask Cheolin about Junsang. He was shocked when she told him there was someone who looked exactly like him, and that person was Yoo-jin's lover. Hyung immediately drove off. The following day, while at the construction site, Hyung saw Yoo-jin's horoscope card fall and went over to pick it up. When she turned to thank him, she suddenly noticed a metal bar falling toward Hyung. She rushed over and pushed him away. Hyung and his co-workers quickly took Yoo-jin to the emergency room. A while later, Hyuk received a phone call and hurried to the hospital. When Hyung explained what had happened, Hyuk became agitated, grabbed his collar, and warned him. Fortunately, Yoo-jin's injuries were not serious, so she was moved to a recovery room. Seeing Hyung looking dejected, Cha-jin asked what was wrong, but he said nothing and walked away, so she followed him. They went to the room where Yoo-jin was resting. Feeling guilty, Hyung told Hyuk he would arrange for someone to take care of Yoo-jin, but Hyuk refused. The two stared at each other in tense silence until Cha-jin stepped in to ease the situation and pulled Hyung away. Back in the room, Hyung confronted Cha-jin, asking why she had lied to him, saying he had heard everything. She broke down in tears, apologizing, and confessed that back in school, Yoo-jin had also taken Junsang from her. Now that Yoo-jin was working with Hyung, she didn't want the same thing to happen again. Hearing that, Hyung told her they should take a break from each other, leaving Cha-jin speechless. The next day, since her injuries were not serious, Yoo-jin was discharged from the hospital. She called her co-worker to ask about the construction progress. While looking through her notebook, she came across an old photo of her and Junsang. A moment later, Hyung arrived with a bouquet of flowers to congratulate her on being discharged. He apologized for wrongly accusing her, and said he hadn't known she once had a lover who looked like him. He admitted that at first, he thought she had made up the story just to manipulate him. Then Hyung turned to her and asked, "Is it true that Junsang and I look exactly alike?" Yoo-jin nodded. Hyung then asked if she could forgive him. She said that for a misunderstanding, forgiveness wasn't necessary. Hearing that, Hyung felt relieved and smiled softly. One day, Cha-jin came to see Hyuk, urging him to get married soon. Seeing her behaving strangely, he said he was very busy and left. Cha-jin grabbed his hand and told him that because of Yoo-jin, Hyung wanted to break up with her. Hearing that, Hyuk was shocked, so when he returned home, he told his parents that he wanted to marry Yoo-jin. His mother objected because of the incident when Yoo-jin was late that day, something she still hadn't forgiven. Hyuk knelt down and begged, but his mother still refused and walked away. His father asked why he was so determined to marry Yoo-jin. Hyuk replied that he didn't want to lose her. her. When Yoo-jin and Hyung were walking and talking, a colleague ran up to tell her that her mother had just fainted. Hearing that, Yoo-jin panicked and immediately ran off, and seeing her distressed, Hyung offered to take her. As soon as they arrived at Yoo-jin's house, she rushed inside to check on her mother. Her younger sister came out and said their mother was feeling better. At that moment, Hyung entered, surprising the younger sister. Yoo-jin quickly explained that he was not Jun-sang. Her mother also came out and, seeing a stranger, asked who he was. Yoo-jin quickly explained that he was the person in charge of the ski resort where she worked, and the one who brought her home. While Yoo-jin went into the room to talk with her mother, only Hyung and the younger sister were left outside. Curious to know where the person who looked like him had gone with Yoo-jin when he was alive, he asked the younger sister. On the way back, while driving, Hyung suggested they take a day off, and that he would take Yoo-jin somewhere. He drove to a lake. Yoo-jin, seeing the familiar scenery, suggested going somewhere else, because she didn't want to recall sad memories. But Hyung said since they were already there, they should take a walk. While walking, Yoo-jin suddenly stopped. Thinking she was cold, Hyung ran to get his coat. Just then, a couple on bicycles passed by, reminding Yoo-jin of the moments she shared with Jun-sang, and she quickly pulled down her hood to hide her face. The next day, to observe the ski resort from above, the two rode a cable car together. At that moment, they accidentally looked into each other's eyes and awkwardly looked away. Unfortunately, a snowstorm suddenly struck, preventing them from returning. When people heard that the ski resort had officially opened, they came. When asked about Yoo-jin and Hyung, the uncle explained the situation. Hyung was sitting by the fireplace and fell asleep. Yoo-jin quietly walked over, removed his glasses, and looked at his face. Suddenly, he woke up, making her embarrassed and turn away. Hyung held her back and asked what was wrong. He told her that Jun-sang was gone and she should wake up, then confessed that he had fallen in love with her. Hearing that, Yoo-jin didn't know what to say and ran away. When morning came, Yoo-jin went outside to enjoy the view, and Hyung walked up to her. He apologized for what happened yesterday, but said he did not regret saying those words. She said that in her heart there was only Jun-sang, and even though Hyung had the same face as him, she had never felt any affection. At that time, Hyuk and Cha-jin took the cable car up the mountain. As soon as they arrived, they split up to search. He saw Yoo-jin standing with Hyung, so he went over and pulled her away. Right then, Hyung asked who the person Yoo-jin truly loved was. Hyuk turned back and asked what right he had to know that. Hyung said it was because he loved her. Hearing that, Hyuk became angry and grabbed his collar. Thanks to Yoo-jin's persuasion, Hyuk let go and left. Cha-jin, standing from a distance, heard everything. When she returned to her room, Hyung told her that they should break up. Hearing that, she was heartbroken and burst into tears. Hyuk took Yoo-jin to the car to go home, but because of work, Yoo-jin refused to leave. He shouted, "Who is your lover right now?" Seeing Yoo-jin not answer, Hyuk got into the car and drove off despite her calling and knocking repeatedly. When she turned back, she saw Hyung standing from afar. Yoo-jin walked up to him and said that the person she loved was Hyuk. That night, she called Hyuk to apologize, but he listened without saying a word. The next morning, Hyung happened to overhear Yoo-jin talking with a colleague about going to meet Hyuk in person to apologize, so he offered to drive her to the bus station. Hyung even helped her buy a ticket. Seeing her sad, he asked her to promise that when she came back, she had to be cheerful before he would give her the ticket. Yoo-jin smiled, and Hyung handed her the ticket. Then she went to Hyuk's workplace to see him. The two sat down to talk, but he still had not calmed down. When she invited him to eat, Hyuk refused, saying he had to get back to work, and left. Realizing she had failed, Yoo-jin bought a ticket to return to her workplace. Hyung was sitting and reading documents when he suddenly saw her. She told him everything, and said it was the first time she had seen Hyuk so angry. Understanding her feelings, Hyung took her to an open field where there was only one car blowing snow outside and told her, "You can cry here, no one will hear you." Yoo-jin stepped forward and started crying. The next morning, wanting to hold on, Cha-jin came to see Hyung, but he still insisted on breaking up no matter how much she begged. Soon after, Hyuk came to find Yoo-jin to take her home. When they walked outside, they happened to run into Hyung. He politely bowed first, and Hyuk immediately returned the gesture. Both of them then went to Hyuk's house. However, his mother still showed her displeasure toward Yoo-jin. Since it was Hyuk's mother's birthday that day, Yoo-jin offered to help in the kitchen, but she refused and told her to wait outside. Hyuk decided to take Yoo-jin out even though she didn't want to leave. A while later, everyone in the family gathered to light the candles on the cake. The father told his wife to blow out the candles, but she remained silent. Seeing that, he told his son to do it, but Hyuk told his father to go ahead instead. Having no choice, the father blew out all the candles himself. When Hyuk's mother went into the kitchen to bring out the cake, Yoo-jin walked over to help. The mother asked if she was working at the ski resort and if she was working with another man. Seeing Yoo-jin not answer, she became certain it was true. Hyuk walked in, agitated, and and asked his mother why she hated Yoo-jin so much. She slapped him and asked why he would act like that over a woman. He didn't respond and pulled Yoo-jin away. The two went to a place to get some fresh air. He asked if she had fallen in love with that man. Since Yoo-jin didn't answer, he didn't ask again. After that, they went to a hotel. Inside, Hyuk silently drank beer, and seeing that, Yoo-jin walked out. Hyung called, and Hyuk picked up. He asked if Yoo-jin could return to work the next day. Hyuk replied that they were together right now, so she couldn't go back. At that moment, Yoo-jin came back in and saw Hyuk holding the phone. Suddenly, he lost control and pushed her down, making Yoo-jin struggle to resist. Realizing what he was doing, he stopped. She burst into tears and ran outside. Hyuk tried to chase after her, but she had already taken a taxi and left. He regretted it and kept apologizing. Right after that, Yoo-jin called Hyung and told him her location. He immediately got in his car and rushed over. As soon as he saw her, he went up and hugged her tightly. After some time, Jun-sang's mother returned to Korea. She quietly entered and looked around the house from the past. At that time, Hyuk went to see Yoo-jin to apologize for what had happened. She didn't want to remember it and told him not to bring it up again, then suggested they break up and go back to being friends as before. But Hyuk said he couldn't do that and turned away. Meanwhile, Hyung was about to go skiing with the others when Yoo-jin came back. She walked up to him and said she had something to tell him. She confessed that she had fallen in love with him, which surprised him. However, she said she couldn't be with him because if she did, Hyuk would be hurt, and if she stayed with Hyuk, then Hyung would suffer. So she decided not to choose anyone and to live on her own, not wanting to hold on any longer. Hyung said that he couldn't do that and would never abandon her. The next day, because he didn't want to give up on Yoo-jin, when she and her colleagues were decorating at the television station, Hyuk came and invited her to have dinner, but she refused, saying she was busy with work. However, Hyuk insisted that she go and told her he would come to pick her up at 7, leaving Yoo-jin feeling awkward. When the time came, he took her to a restaurant to introduce her to his colleagues. Yoo-jin was surprised to see Hyung having dinner with the uncle there. After eating, the uncle invited them to have a drink, but Hyung refused, saying he only wanted to take a walk. Meanwhile, Yoo-jin, having dinner with Hyuk and his colleagues, said that she had something personal to discuss. Hearing that, Hyuk's colleague excused himself and left. She asked Hyuk not to do this anymore because it wouldn't change anything. What she said before wasn't out of anger, but was her own decision. After saying that, she left. Hyuk immediately chased after her, grabbed her, and said that even if she didn't love him, they still had to be together. Yoo-jin refused. Hyuk asked for a reason, but she didn't answer. At that moment, Hyung returned and saw them arguing, so he spoke up, telling Yoo-jin to go back. Seeing Hyung interfere, Hyuk stepped forward and grabbed his collar. Hyung told him to go ahead and hit him because he wouldn't fight back. Realizing his mistake, Hyuk let go. Hyung then walked over and took Yoo-jin away. She said she couldn't let Hyuk leave like that and apologized to Hyung. Yoo-jin turned back, went to Hyuk, and pulled him away. The next morning, Hyuk went out to pick up his parents for the performance. On the way, they happened to see Yoo-jin and Hyung walking together, discussing the documents in their hands. The father, surprised to see Jun-sang, went up and asked. When he realized it was a mistake, he apologized. Hyung said it was fine because such misunderstandings happen to him often. While handing over the room key to his parents, the friend who came along mentioned that Yoo-jin's family would also attend. Hyuk told his parents that he had invited them to watch. Yoo-jin's mother came over to greet his parents. Although they responded, Hyuk's mother's attitude remained unfriendly. A while later, the performance began. When Yoo-jin arrived, she was surprised to see her mother also there. Everyone had gathered. After the event ended, Hyuk's mother told Yoo-jin she had something to say. She asked if Yoo-jin loved Hyuk. Seeing her not answer, the mother became even more certain that Yoo-jin loved someone else. The father thought it was a misunderstanding and told his wife to apologize, but she said she had seen Yoo-jin walking beside another man with her own eyes. Right after that, Hyung slowly walked up. The mother pointed at him, saying he was the man Yoo-jin loved now. Hyuk became furious and shouted for Hyung to leave. Yoo-jin stood up and said, "Enough," then looked at Hyuk and declared that the two of them should end it. She apologized to his mother for not being able to marry, then ran away. Hyung immediately went after her, and right after that, Hyuk also chased after them. But when he got outside, he saw that the two had already left. The next morning, the two went out to play in the snow to ease the tension. Hyung threw a snowball toward Yoo-jin, saying it was a gift, and gestured for her to break it open with her hands. She did, and inside was a necklace. When they got into the car, he saw her doing something and asked what it was. She pointed upward, surprising him when he saw several stars above. Yoo-jin said that was her gift to him. The next day, she received a call from a friend who said Hyuk wasn't doing well. He wasn't eating, wasn't sleeping, and had resigned from his job. So the friend asked her to come and talk to him, hoping it might help. Yoo-jin apologized, saying she couldn't do anything, then hung up. At that moment, Hyung came in and, seeing her pale face, knew it was about Hyuk. Yoo-jin told him about Hyuk's current condition, saying she believed that after some time, he would return to how he was before. While she was working, Hyuk's mother came to see Yoo-jin and begged her to visit her son because he had been hospitalized. No matter what the mother said, Yoo-jin stayed silent. Out of options, the mother angrily left. Hyung went to the hospital to see how things were. Looking inside, he saw that Hyuk's condition was very bad. That night, he sat and thought about the situation and made a decision. The next day, Hyung drove her to the hospital. Understanding his intention, Yoo-jin asked, "What will you do if I don't go back?" Hyung replied, "That's fine. I can't stand to see you living in pain like this." After that, Yoo-jin went inside to see Hyuk. Seeing how weak he had become because of her, she burst into tears. Hyuk opened his eyes, saw her crying, comforted her, and said, "I'm fine now, so please go." Right after Yoo-jin left, he was torn inside. Hyuk pulled out the IV line from his hand. When the nurse came in and saw his condition, she immediately called the doctor. Yoo-jin, who was sitting nearby, saw the nurse and doctor rush into Hyuk's room. Realizing something had happened, she hurried in. Yoo-jin asked the doctor about his condition. He said it had been dangerous and that if this continued, it could threaten his life. As soon as Hyuk regained consciousness, Yoo-jin cried and scolded him for being foolish and asked why he did something like that. A friend who came to visit was moved after witnessing everything. After some time, Hyuk's condition stabilized, and he took the initiative to return to work at the broadcasting station. His mother had become more open toward Yoo-jin, and even invited her over for dinner. During the meal, Hyuk said that after getting married, he would study abroad, surprising his parents. Yoo-jin, however, remained silent. When he took her home, he asked if she regretted marrying him. Yoo-jin said she didn't, then went inside. Hyuk's face showed clear sadness. While he was fishing, an old man came by and warned him to be careful because someone had drowned there before. Long ago, he had once saved a boy from the water. That boy's name was Hyuk. Hearing that, Hyuk was shocked and asked again to be sure, because his mother had once told him that he too had fallen into the river as a child. That evening, he went to his mother's room and found her unconscious. Hyuk quickly carried her back to bed. A doctor who was a friend of his mother examined her and said it was nothing serious, just psychological shock, and she would be fine by morning. Afterward, Hyuk went to a bar. Doubting his own identity, he was soon approached by Cha-jin. He asked if many people had mistaken him for Jun Sung, and if so, what kind of relationship he and that man had. Hearing that, Cha-jin didn't know how to respond. Suddenly, Hyuk stood up to leave, and she asked where he was going. Hyuk said he just wanted to be alone, but instead, he went to Yoo-jin's house. However, when he saw her walking out with Hyung, he hid behind a tree and watched them. Yoo-jin sensed something and turned around but saw no one. Later, while sitting alone, she looked at the necklace and thought of Hyuk, deciding to go see him. Hyuk was driving home when he happened to see her and followed her. They met at a cafe. Yoo-jin took out the necklace he had given her, saying she wanted to return it because it no longer belonged to her. After their conversation ended, they left together. When Yoo-jin arrived home, Hyuk was already waiting for her. The next day, he took her to visit his family. Everyone kept talking about the wedding, but Yoo-jin didn't look happy. While Hyuk was driving her back, a coworker called and invited Yoo-jin out for drinks, saying that since she would resign after getting married, it might be their last chance to meet. Yoo-jin was about to decline, but Hyuk said there was no harm in going for a bit and drove there. When they entered, Hyuk, not wanting to make things awkward, excused himself to leave. But Hyuk's coworker stopped him. "We just arrived and you're already leaving. The ones who should go are us." After saying that, Hyuk pulled Yoo-jin away. Once outside, seeing her unhappy expression, he became agitated and asked if she felt that way because of him, if she would be happier around Hyung instead. Then he asked what she and Hyung had met for the previous day. She said she had something to return, but Hyuk didn't believe her and angrily left her there, driving away. Yoo-jin was about to catch a ride herself when Hyung suddenly came back, pulled her toward him, and hailed a cab for her. When she met Hyung again, they talked, and after a while, made peace. The next day, Jun Sang's mother went to visit Yoo-jin's father's grave. On her way back, Hyuk's car happened to pass by, and Yoo-jin noticed her. When the two arrived at the cemetery, they saw a bouquet of flowers placed in front of the grave, and Yoo-jin wondered who had come to visit her father. They then performed a small ritual. Back home, Yoo-jin asked her mother if she had visited the grave, and she said no. Though she didn't know who it was, she was happy that someone still remembered her husband's birthday, and brought flowers. Hyuk took out an envelope and handed it to Yoo-jin's mother, saying it was his savings and asking her to use it for their wedding. Yoo-jin tried to stop him, but Hyuk insisted. Seeing his determination, her mother couldn't refuse. While driving, Hyuk told Yoo-jin to take out the map to find somewhere to go for fun. By chance, she saw an advertisement with a photo of Hyung's mother and recognized her. When Hyuk found out that the woman was Hyung's mother, he was shocked. As the car was moving, he suddenly stopped. Hyuk recalled that when he had interviewed her, his father had gone with him. During the conversation, he heard his father ask her about Jun-sang. The car turned around and headed to the bus station. Hyuk told Yoo-jin to take the bus home first. She agreed and got out, leaving him to drive to the school to meet the teacher he had met before. The two talked, then went to a room. Hyuk told the person in charge there that he wanted to find the records of someone named Jun-sang. The person said that just a while ago, another man wearing glasses had also come looking for the same records. Meanwhile, Hyuk had arrived at the old house. Looking around, he was startled when his mother appeared. Seeing her, Hyuk became even more certain that he was actually Jun-sang, and in shock, he ran away despite his mother calling after him. Hyuk ran to Yoo-jin's house and asked where her mother was. She told him Yoo-jin was at the lakeside. Yoo-jin was walking when she happened to meet Hyuk there. Seeing his serious expression, Yoo-jin asked what had happened. Just as he was about to speak, another Hyuk arrived. She was surprised that he knew she was there. Hyuk said his mother had told him, then grabbed Yoo-jin's hand and pulled her away. He drove to a place and stopped, fearing that Hyuk might have misunderstood what had happened earlier. She explained that she had only run into Hyuk by coincidence. Hyuk turned and asked Yoo-jin if meeting Hyuk felt the same as meeting Jun-sang. She didn't know how to answer and stayed silent. He then asked, if Jun-sang were still alive, would you still be with me? Sensing his worry, she hugged him. Meanwhile, Hyuk met with the doctor and learned the truth. The doctor revealed that in the accident years ago, he had been severely injured, and when he woke up, he had completely lost his memory. At his mother's request, the doctor had replaced Jun-sang's memories with those of a man named Hyuk. The doctor apologized, saying that normally hypnosis was used to restore memory, but his case was a rare exception. Moments later, Hyuk met the man. Realizing the person standing before him was truly Jun-sang, Hyuk knelt down and begged Jun-sang not to tell Yoo-jin, because she had already suffered enough. When Yoo-jin returned from an outing with Cheolin, she was surprised to see Hyuk sitting in front of her house. He immediately rushed over and hugged her tightly, leaving Cheolin stunned. The next day, Jun-sang went to see Cha-jin to ask her some questions. Seeing him, she called her friend to cancel their meeting, but when he found out the meeting included Yoo-jin and Hyuk, he grabbed the phone and said that he and Cha-jin would go instead. When they arrived, Jun-sang was surprised not to see Yoo-jin. He asked those present about Jun-sang's past, whether he had any conflicts with anyone, and posed the question of what would happen if Jun-sang were still alive. Everyone began to think deeply about it. Before leaving, Jun-sang did not reveal the truth, and continued to assume his current identity as Hyuk. When he stepped outside, he saw Yoo-jin approaching. Jun-sang told her he had something to say, and revealed his true identity to her, but Yoo-jin didn't believe him, and at that moment, Hyuk arrived. He accused Hyuk of being delusional for pretending to be Jun-sang. Hearing that, Jun-sang became angry and punched Hyuk in the face. Seeing this, Yoo-jin quickly stopped him, and said that, no matter how Hyuk pretended, he could never fool her. Then she and Hyuk took a taxi home. She gently tended to Hyuk's wound. He asked her to promise never to meet Hyuk again, and not to listen to anything he said. Seeing Hyuk in that state, Yoo-jin agreed. Late at night, Jun-sang called Yoo-jin, and asked what was different between him and Jun-sang. Yoo-jin answered that Jun-sang never called her by name. Even though he wasn't good at expressing himself, he would never use painful memories to hurt anyone. Even words of love, he couldn't bring himself to say in front of her. Yoo-jin carefully listed every difference between the two of them. In the end, she affirmed that even if Jun-sang were still alive, she could never leave Hyuk because she had chosen him. Jun-sang asked her to meet him one last time. She was about to go, but was stopped by her mother. Yoo-jin pleaded with her mother to let her go, saying this would be the last time she met him. Just as Yoo-jin reached the door, her mother suddenly fainted. Hyuk heard the news and rushed over. Meanwhile, Jun-sang kept waiting for Yoo-jin, but she never came. Saddened, he returned to the hotel and ran into Hyuk. Hyuk told Jun-sang what had happened and said Yoo-jin was in great pain. She had just begun to recover, yet Jun-sang had brought up those old wounds again. He told Jun-sang to stop and let Yoo-jin choose the person she truly loved. The next day, Jun-sang went to see his mother and asked her to restore his memories. His mother explained that she had done it out of desperation. After the accident, he had completely forgotten everything, so she had hoped to replace the images in his mind with new memories. The reason she did it was because his past was filled with pain. The person Jun-sang had hated most was his own mother, so after he lost his memories, she thought it was a chance to start over. Jun-sang's eyes filled with tears when he learned why she had done it. After that, he went to the school and walked around, looking at everything. At the same time, Yoo-jin also arrived, asking for directions to the broadcasting room. Later, Jun-sang returned to the company and told the uncle that he was about to go to America, then went to see Hyuk, saying that he had decided he no longer wanted to be Jun-sang. He said that as long as he could live under the name Hyung, he was already satisfied, and he hoped Yoo-jin would be happy. He also apologized for causing pain to both Hyuk and Yoo-jin. Before leaving, Hyuk reached out and shook Hyuk's hand. After that, he went to Cha-jin's fashion shop and happened to see Yoo-jin trying on a wedding dress. He said he was there to find Cha-jin, but when he learned she wasn't around, he left. At that moment, Hyuk called Cha-jin and told her that Hyuk was about to go back to America. Hearing that, she was stunned. To confirm, Cha-jin went to ask the uncle about it, and when he confirmed it was true, she broke down. While she was sitting in thought, Yoo-jin suddenly called her and said she had investigated the accident from years ago, but couldn't find Jun-sang's name on the list of the deceased. Hearing that, Cha-jin immediately went to the school, knowing Yoo-jin would be there. While Cha-jin was talking with the teacher, Yoo-jin arrived. The teacher was surprised to see both of his former students there. After a while, Cha-jin offered to take her home. When Yoo-jin returned to the company, a coworker handed her a letter from Hyuk and said it might be a farewell gift. She was puzzled as to why it was a farewell, surprising the coworker who realized Yoo-jin didn't yet know Hyuk was going to America. She opened it and found a CD inside. After listening to it, she hurried to the airport to find him. At that time, Hyuk, after helping a little girl tie her shoelaces, suddenly saw an image of Yoo-jin flash in his mind. From behind, Yoo-jin called out the name Jun-sang. She walked up and asked if the person standing before her was Jun-sang. Tears suddenly streamed down his face. Yoo-jin apologized for not recognizing him sooner, then embraced him tightly, trembling. Later, the two went to a room to talk. Yoo-jin was overwhelmed with emotion, realizing the Jun-sang she had once known was now standing before her. Her long-held wish had finally come true. When she learned that Jun-sang still hadn't regained his old memories, Yoo-jin told him stories from their past and held him tightly in tears. That night, when Yoo-jin still hadn't returned, Cheon called Hyuk to inform him. He immediately went over, and she told him everything that had happened. Even after calling her workplace and her mother, no one knew where she was. Suddenly, Hyuk's phone rang. It was Yoo-jin's number. When he answered, it was Hyuk on the other end. He said Yoo-jin was sleeping, and that he would return to America the next day. Therefore, he asked Hyuk to come and take her home in the morning. A few minutes later, a worried friend arrived to check the situation. When asked where Yoo-jin was, Hyuk said she was with Jun-sang and explained that Hyung was actually Jun-sang, leaving the others stunned. The next morning, when Yoo-jin woke up, she didn't see Jun-sang and panicked, running out to look for him. Hyuk arrived just then and tried to stop her, but Yoo-jin told him to let go and kept running. After a while, she saw Jun-sang walking and shouted his name. Without thinking, Yoo-jin ran across the street, ignoring the oncoming traffic. Seeing a truck speeding toward her, Hyuk rushed forward and pushed her out of the way. He was taken to the hospital for emergency treatment. Yoo-jin asked about his condition. The doctor said the tests showed no major problems, but since his head was injured, they couldn't say for sure yet, and they would have to wait until he woke up. The three friends rushed to the hospital after hearing the news. When they learned the accident had happened because of Yoo-jin, Cha-jin became furious and shouted at her, saying, "Are you using this as a way to make Hyuk remember Jun-sang's memories from before?" That night, Yoo-jin kept waiting and blamed herself for causing Jun-sang to end up like this. Hyuk advised her to eat something to regain her strength because she hadn't eaten anything since morning. The next day, Jun-sang's mother rushed to the hospital after hearing the news. The moment she saw him lying bandaged on the bed, she burst into tears and asked how it came to this. Yoo-jin apologized, saying it was because of her that he got hurt. Hyung's mother wondered if Yoo-jin had told Hyuk about Jun-sang's past. Even though he already knew, it brought him no benefit and even led to such an accident. She thanked Yoo-jin for taking good care of Hyung when she wasn't around. Therefore, to avoid troubling her, she told her assistant to find someone else to look after him. Yoo-jin begged her not to do that. He was the one she had missed for so many years, so she didn't want to be separated from him. She promised not to call Hyung by the name Jun-sang and not to mention anything about the past. Seeing her sincerity, Hyung's mother turned away and left. A few days later, Yoo-jin's mother came to visit and advised her to return to Hyuk since the two of them were already engaged. But for Yoo-jin, now all she hoped for was for Hyung to wake up. She didn't care about anything else. Hearing this, her mother couldn't say a word and left sadly. A while later, Hyung's mother came to visit. While the two were walking, they happened to see the doctors and nurses rushing into Hyung's room. They looked at each other with concern and hurried over. Because Yoo-jin was an outsider, she wasn't allowed inside. When Hyung's mother came out, Yoo-jin quickly asked about his condition. She said the critical period was over, but although he had regained consciousness, Hyung no longer remembered who she was. Yoo-jin asked Hyung's mother to go home and rest, saying she would stay and take care of him. After she left, Yoo-jin went into the room and held his hand tightly. Just as she turned away, Hyung woke up and called her name. The memories of Jun-sang suddenly flooded back into his mind. Although still a bit vague, he remembered the first time they met and how long Yoo-jin's hair had been back then. Overjoyed, she burst into tears and embraced Jun-sang. When she got home to pack, Cheon came over and asked. Yoo-jin then told her that Jun-sang had regained his memory. Cheon was so happy that she burst into tears. At the same time, Hyuk, who was with a friend, also received the news that Jun-sang had remembered everything. Cha-jin was devastated when she heard it, because if Hyung had Jun-sang's memories, she could never have him. One day, while out, Yoo-jin saw Hyuk. The two went to a cafe. He asked how Jun-sang's memory was now. She said that although it was still a bit vague, he still remembered Hyuk. Knowing he could never have Yoo-jin, Hyuk told her to cherish Jun-sang and never lose him again. On his way home, Hyuk kept thinking about the times he had shared with Yoo-jin. When he got home, he told his parents that he couldn't get married, which made them worried and asked why. Hyuk only said that he no longer wanted to marry Yoo-jin, then excused himself and went upstairs. At that time, Jun-sang's mother came to visit her son, overjoyed that he had regained his memory and could recognize her again. Jun-sang asked about his father. Although she didn't want him to know about him, she still decided to tell him. When she was young, she had loved a man, but in the end, he abandoned her and married another woman. Even though many years had passed, she still felt heartbroken. She said she had lived all this time for her son. Sometime later, he was discharged from the hospital. When he saw the new house his mother had just bought, Jun-sang called to thank her and told her not to worry because he had already bought all the things he needed. A while later, Eugene brought a gift and helped Jun-sang decorate the house. That evening, the two went to meet their former teacher, and their old friends were also there. When the teacher saw Jun-sang, he was shocked because he thought Jun-sang had died. Jun-sang then told him everything that had happened. After that, everyone drank and chatted until only Yoo-jin and Jun-sang were left. He suggested that they go somewhere together the next day, and she agreed. The next day, the two sat at the back of the bus, just like when they first met. When they arrived at the wall behind the school, Yoo-jin told Jun-sang to bend down so she could climb up, just like when they were late for class back then. And then, the two went together to the places they used to go during their school days. Since he had regained part of his memory, Jun-sang decided not to return to America. While driving, he suddenly remembered something, so he went to Yoo-jin's workplace and took her back to the old house. Jun-sang searched everywhere to find that thing. When he finally found it, he showed it to Yoo-jin. It was a glove she had given him. Yoo-jin was moved that he still remembered it. At that time, Yoo-jin's mother went to see Hyuk to return the gift and the money his parents had given for the wedding. He apologized for causing her trouble over the matter. When he was seeing Yoo-jin's mother off, he happened to see Jun-sang's mother arriving. The two knew each other, so they greeted each other politely. At home, her mother asked Yoo-jin how Jun-sang's memory recovery had been lately. She said it hadn't fully returned yet, but he had remembered most of his old school friends. The next day, the two went to the supermarket together. When she saw him buying a lot of things, Yoo-jin was afraid they wouldn't be able to finish them, so she tried to put some back, but Jun-sang insisted on buying them all. While checking through the items they had bought, Jun-sang mentioned that tomorrow was his birthday. Yoo-jin was surprised to hear that and understood why he had bought so much. The next morning, during breakfast, Yoo-jin invited Cheolin to come to Jun-sang's house for a meal because it was his birthday. On her way to work, Cheolin called a friend and told him to come to Jun-sang's birthday as well. By chance, Cha-jin overheard and became furious, ordering Cheolin to leave. At Jun-sang's house, he was worried that none of his friends would show up. Just then, the doorbell rang. Jun-sang opened the door and was delighted to see Hyuk. He wished him a happy birthday and handed him a bouquet of flowers. Inside, while Jun-sang was making tea, Hyuk sat and talked with Yoo-jin. She asked about his work, and he said everything was going smoothly. Although the workload was a bit heavier, he felt mentally refreshed. When it was time to leave, Jun-sang walked Hyuk out. Hyuk thanked him for making Yoo-jin happy again, and mentioned that his recent program had just featured an interview with Jun-sang's mother. Hyuk said that his father used to be classmates with Jun-sang's mother, and now the two of them were classmates as well, so perhaps it was fate. After saying that, Hyuk quickly left. A while later, the others arrived at Jun-sang's house to celebrate his birthday. Everyone sat around the cake, and the atmosphere became warm and joyful. When Hyuk got home, his mother showed him a photo of a girl and told him to meet her, but he refused. She advised her son to stop holding on to Yoo-jin and go out to meet new people. Hyuk didn't want to hear any more and went upstairs. Then his father came into the room to talk. Hyuk told his father that Hyung was actually Jun-sang. Because of an accident, he had lost his memory, and he added that Jun-sang's mother was the same woman his father had met during an interview. Hearing this, his father was stunned. The next day, Jun-sang's mother received a call from Hyuk's father. He asked if Jun-sang was his son, but she refused to answer. He questioned, "If he isn't my son, then whose son is he?" But she said she was busy and hung up. That evening, Jun-sang met Yoo-jin to talk. When they entered the church, they happened to see a group of people rehearsing a wedding ceremony for a couple. When the young man said, "Congratulations, Yoo-jin and Jun-sang," someone sitting from afar took notice. After everyone left, Jun-sang and Yoo-jin stepped forward. He took out the necklace from before and put it around her neck, and the two shared a sweet kiss. Meanwhile, Yoo-jin's mother went to see Hyuk's father to tell him that Yoo-jin was now seeing Jun-sang, asking him to stop their relationship. Hyuk's father also believed that the two of them could never get married. One day, Yoo-jin and Jun-sang went up the mountain together. The mountain was covered with snow, so they played and laughed with the snow. That evening, Yoo-jin took him home to meet her mother. Seeing that Jun-sang was nervous, Yoo-jin reassured him, "Don't worry. worry, my mother will definitely like you. After that, the three of them sat down to talk. Junsang asked for permission to marry Yujin, but her mother refused, saying that she still didn't understand what kind of person he was, so she couldn't entrust her daughter to him. Junsang said he knew he had caused Yujin pain over the years, but now he would make her happy. However, her mother still firmly disagreed, and stood up to leave despite Yujin calling after her. Later, Yujin saw him off, and then came back to beg her mother to allow them to marry, but she still refused. Yujin asked why she was doing this. Her mother took out a photo of Yujin's father with two other people, and said that he had once been engaged to Junsang's mother, but after meeting her, he broke it off with Junsang's mother. Unable to bear it, she jumped into the river, but fortunately, Hyuk's father saved her. So throughout her life, Yujin's mother had always felt guilty toward Junsang's mother, and if Junsang's mother did not agree for them to be together, then she could not agree either. After hearing the story from the past, Yujin went to see Junsang and told him everything her mother had just said. When they parted, Junsang told Yujin not to worry, that everything would eventually be fine. The next day, he took her to a place to take photos. When he returned to the office, a colleague informed him that someone wanted to see him. It was Hyuk, who came to invite him for a drink. The two went to a bar together. Hyuk said that if Junsang married Yujin, he would be the first to give them his blessings. Junsang thanked him and said that things were not going smoothly. Both of their mothers opposed the marriage. Hyuk said that if it were him, he would run away so that no one could stop them. Junsang said he had thought about that too, but it didn't feel right. Before leaving, Hyuk encouraged him, "Do your best," then left. Yujin, feeling disheartened, wandered around the ski resort and happened to see Junsang. When he saw her, he walked over and embraced her, though his mind seemed preoccupied with something else. The next day, Junsang went to see his mother and looked straight into her eyes, asking, "Is my father also Yujin's father?" Her face instantly tensed, and she couldn't look him in the eye as she apologized. When Yujin arrived at Junsang's house, she found him sitting deep in thought. Afterward, they went up the mountain to admire the scenery. Junsang told Yujin that they should get married as soon as possible. Meanwhile, when Hyuk came home from work, he overheard a conversation between his father and Yujin's mother. His father urged her to go to the ski resort to stop the two from being together. After the call ended, Hyuk went in and asked his father, "Are you stopping Yujin's marriage because of me?" After hesitating for a moment, his father decided to tell him the truth. Junsang and Yujin were siblings. By then, Junsang and Yujin had changed into wedding clothes and were holding a private ceremony in the church. Hyuk rushed to the ski resort to find them. He met her colleagues and Junsang's uncle and asked where they were. Quickly, he made his way to the church. As soon as he saw Yujin, he went over and pulled her by the hand, but Junsang kept calling out for him to stop. Seeing all this, Hyuk realized that Junsang already knew the truth. He told them that under no circumstances could they get married and dragged Yujin away. When he brought her home, Yujin angrily asked why Hyuk had behaved that way. He didn't tell her the truth, but said that seeing her marry Junsang was something he couldn't bear. "So come back to me and forget about Junsang." But Yujin firmly said she still wanted to marry Junsang, which made Hyuk lose his temper. He shouted that everyone around them opposed the marriage and that not a single person came to celebrate it. Yujin ignored his words. She said as long as Junsang loved her, no amount of pressure could change her mind. When Hyuk went outside, his two friends questioned him, asking why he had suddenly changed his attitude when he had already decided to let go. Hyuk asked them to trust him and not to question further because he had his own reasons. As he walked to his car, Hyuk saw Junsang approaching. The two went somewhere to talk. Junsang asked how he had learned the truth and whether he had told Yujin yet. Hyuk said he hadn't told her and that he didn't know how to bring it up. The next day, Yujin went to see Junsang's mother to ask about his whereabouts, as she had searched everywhere but couldn't find him. His mother said she didn't know and left, leaving Yujin disappointed as she returned home. While going down the stairs, her necklace accidentally fell. When she picked it up, the pendant could no longer be reattached as before. At that moment, Junsang was in his room when his mother came to see him. She advised him to break up because even if they continued, it wouldn't end well. "If it's hard for you to say it, let me tell her." Seeing Junsang stay silent, his mother said she would tell Yujin the truth herself because she couldn't stand seeing him suffer any longer. Junsang immediately objected, so she gave him two choices. "Either I will tell Yujin the truth or you will." Tears fell from Junsang's eyes as he chose to tell her himself. Right after that, he went to meet Yujin. The moment she saw him, she burst into tears and asked where he had been all day. Junsang said he had been busy and held her in his arms, but he still couldn't bring himself to tell her the truth. Afterward, the two went to the beach. Yujin asked why he had brought her there. He replied, "Because we've never been to the sea before, so I wanted us to go together at least once." They walked along the shore, playing and enjoying the moment together. By evening, they went to stay at a nearby lodge. Inside the room, their eyes met unintentionally. Just as they were about to kiss, Junsang suddenly thought of something, stopped, and walked outside. Yujin came up behind him and hugged him, saying that as long as Junsang was by her side, she didn't feel afraid of anything. The next morning, the two went to a nearby market for a stroll. While sitting down to rest, Yujin told Junsang that she had accidentally dropped her necklace the day before and it was broken. He told her to give it to him so he could fix it. Yujin thanked him and struggled to remove the necklace. Seeing this, Junsang stepped forward to help. That night, he sat watching Yujin's face and gently kissed her cheek. Then he went outside, thinking about their past memories, and began to cry. He took the necklace and threw it forcefully into the sea. When she woke up, Yujin panicked upon realizing Junsang was gone. As soon as she opened the door, she saw Hyuk and immediately asked about Junsang's whereabouts. Hyuk said he had left because his mother strongly opposed their marriage. If Junsang refused to listen, she said they would never see each other again. Yujin couldn't believe Junsang would do that, so she ran out to find him. Hyuk quickly followed. She took a taxi to Junsang's house and knocked on the door. Suddenly, the door opened. It was Junsang's mother. She handed Yujin a cup of tea and said she knew Yujin had come to find Junsang and that she understood her feelings because she was once the same. Yujin's eyes filled with tears as she asked, "Is Junsang my father's son?" But the woman couldn't answer. No matter how many times Yujin asked, she only stood up and said that Yujin should let Junsang go and forget her first love. Hearing this, Yujin was heartbroken and ran away. A few days later, while Junsang was at the office, Yujin came to see him. Looking at him with teary eyes, she asked, "Is it true?" After a moment of hesitation, Junsang nodded. Learning the cruel truth, Yujin was so shocked that she collapsed to the floor. He rushed over to help her, but she stopped him. When he returned home, his mother could tell from his expression that something had happened. He sat down outside her room, head hanging low. Worried, she came over to ask if he was all right. While Hyuk's father was walking, he saw a father and son playing ball together and was reminded of Junsang, so he went to visit him. When Junsang heard the doorbell, he walked slowly and heavily to open the door. As soon as Hyuk's father entered, Junsang suddenly collapsed. After being away for a while, Chajin returned to the store. Seeing Chelan looking dejected, she went over to ask what was wrong. Chelan said she didn't know why Yujin and Junsang had broken up. Hearing this, Chajin was surprised and went to see Hyuk to find out more. While they were talking, Hyuk suddenly received a call from his father, saying that Junsang had collapsed. The cause was the after effect of his old accident, and the doctor said he needed a full examination. The two immediately rushed to the hospital. Hyuk and his father stepped outside to talk. After a while, Hyuk returned, and Chajin asked what had happened and why Junsang and Yujin had broken up. Hyuk didn't tell her the truth and only said that both families had opposed the relationship, so they decided to cancel the engagement. Junsang doesn't love Yujin. Chajin didn't believe him because when Hyuk wasn't around, during his coma, Junsang had called out Yujin's name, which proved that he loved her deeply. Seeing that his lie didn't convince her, the two went outside to talk. As soon as they sat down, Hyuk said that Yujin and Junsang were half-siblings who shared the same father. Hearing this, Chajin was completely shocked. A few days later, Junsang regained consciousness. When Chajin came to visit, he was slightly surprised. She said she had come to take him home. After she brought him back, Junsang thanked her for caring about him. Chajin asked why he didn't run away, since the two of them truly loved each other and had done nothing wrong. Even though they had broken up, she didn't feel happy, because seeing Junsang so sad made her unable to bring herself to smile. Junsang didn't respond and remained silent. One day, Yujin went to see Hyuk. When he saw her, he was overjoyed and greeted her, and the two went to eat together. After that, Yujin went to see Junsang. They asked each other how they had been. She said that even though they had broken up, she still loved him deeply and hoped he would always remember their memories together. He agreed and said, "No matter what happens, I won't forget." At that moment, Hyuk's father was holding a test result in his hand. When he saw the result, he nearly collapsed. Junsang was his son. He then went to see Junsang's mother to ask about it. Knowing she could no longer hide the truth, she admitted it. Hyuk's father went to meet Junsang and told him everything. Junsang was stunned and speechless. The man broke down in tears, apologizing for not recognizing his son sooner. Junsang then went to his mother to ask about it. She admitted the truth but said that back then, she believed he was Yujin's father's son, which was why she never revealed it. Junsang blamed his mother for not telling the truth earlier, saying that if she had, he and Yujin wouldn't have suffered so much. At that time, Hyuk advised Yujin to let go and come back to him, because her relationship with Junsang was impossible. Yujin apologized to Hyuk, saying that the only person in her heart was Junsang. Unable to persuade her, Hyuk went to his father and begged him to help him be with Yujin. But his father said it was all just a misunderstanding, which left Hyuk puzzled. After hesitating for a moment, his father revealed the truth. Junsang was his son. Hearing this, Hyuk was speechless and ran outside despite his mother calling his name. Junsang went to see the doctor to ask about the cause cause of his collapse. The doctor told him there was a tumor in his brain. It was the result of his past head injury. He advised Junsang to have immediate surgery, or he could lose his eyesight permanently. Later, Junsang met with Yujin. They talked and asked about each other's situation, and then he told Yujin to marry Hyuk because only he could bring her happiness. Yujin looked at Junsang with tears streaming down her face. When he took her home, they looked at each other with deep regret. The next day, before leaving for America, Junsang met Hyuk to say goodbye and asked him to take good care of Yujin. At home, the doctor called Hyuk's father, but since he wasn't there, Hyuk picked up the phone. He accidentally learned that the reason Junsang was going to America was to undergo surgery. The doctor had called because he forgot to send some related documents. After discovering the truth, Hyuk drove to see Yujin and told her that she and Junsang were not blood related, and that Junsang was suffering from a serious illness. The two immediately went to the airport to find him, but it was too late. After Junsang left, Yujin also decided to go away for a while. She went to France to study. 3 years later, Yujin returned. By that time, Chelin and her friend were married and had a daughter. From upstairs, Chajin called out, urging everyone to come inside. When Yujin heard that Junsang had lost his sight and was living alone in a house by the sea, she immediately went there. She entered the house and walked out to the balcony, gazing at the ocean. At that moment, Junsang returned, carefully walking along the edge of the floor. Suddenly, Yujin accidentally bumped into a table, making a noise. Junsang asked, "Who's standing over there?" She looked at him, her face on the verge of tears. Junsang seemed to sense that it was Yujin. She immediately answered him with a warm embrace. The movie ends here. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe to support our channel. Thank you for watching.